Hi guys, and welcome to another Android UI tutorial. This time I'll be using Android Studio instead of Eclipse, in the vain hope that it'll be better. On the right here, this is what I'm trying to design. So that's my ultimate goal. So let's make a new layout file. This is my main activity here. And this is actually considered the home screen activity. So the first thing I'm going to do is just refactor this name, which works better in Android Studio because it actually will spell it right. It will update your manifest for you. Now you have to click do refactoring here. But you go down to manifest, you can see it has actually worked, which is Eclipse doesn't do. So now I want it to go to the home screen file, XML file. So I'll make a name up, home screen. Home screen. Let's just call it home screen. And that won't compile, go red because it doesn't exist yet. But as you go down to layout here, new layout resource file, home screen.xml, and just leave linear layout as the top layout. Right, so there we have our new layout. And what we want to do is try and split the screen, as you can see from this image on the right, into about 3 distinct sections. The top one for a header and a button, middle one for these 3 buttons and this text underneath, and the bottom one for a list view. Well, a header and then a list view. So you can roughly see that that's sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's about 5. But let's just start by making the header. So about 5 different chunks. By that I mean the top bit there, I mean the top of start is one, I mean that is another one, that is another one, and then the list has to be its own. But you can see that it's about 50-50 almost. What? It's about 50-50 between the half screen that takes the list here, this bit, and the top bit. So for now I'm just going to do that and then see how it looks. 50-50, but it's not quite 50-50. Okay, so let's start by trying to work out how to do this top bit. So we can actually use another layout. Now these layouts are confusing. I don't no idea why when you drag them in, the icon there shows you one thing on both of them. Let's see the lines are vertical and then horizontal, and then you bring them into here and they're not the same. And there's just something wrong with my brain because I've never been able to work out why that happens, because you can't tell horizontal and vertical. So anyway, you can check just by bringing a couple of buttons in. So this one is going down, so we want it to go across, right? So we just change that to horizontal. So now they're going along like we want. Okay, well now we need images. And since one of them is clickable and one of them isn't, the one on the right here, this sort of cog, is a settings button. And the one on the left is just a header. So I'm thinking the one on the left should probably be... Well, let me check my graphics first. Sometimes you get text included, sometimes you don't. Okay, the res files are a bit deeper into the structure than on Android, than on Eclipse. So there's no text included. I have that leaf basically. Alright, so let's just delete that and put in an image view and just see what happens. Drop it onto the horizontal linear layout like that, and it should come up first. Or maybe not. When you press minus, nothing happens. Okay, so it doesn't have that functionality. Anyway, so I've got the image view here. I just need to give the image which is under source. And now I know it's the leaf one. Another leaf one, I guess. That one. Click OK. that will actually appear. Now let's zoom in a bit by clicking on this thing. Now, I believe that icon might be too small. Who knows? Alright, so now we need some text. Let's get rid of that button for now. So let's bring in a large text view. Yep, and we'll write the words in there that we need so far, just to see what that's like. Office companion. Right, and now let's just put an image button in. Drag it onto there, and we want that cog, so go down to source. I think in this one you might be able to type it in here. No, you still can't. I'm very new to Android Studio. I'm just testing it out, really. And we want the background set to transparent, so push hash 000000. That's 6 zeros, and then 2 more for the alpha to be reset. Okay, so that is, you know, kind of taking shape. What we want to do now is make sure that these things take up the right amount of space. So what I'm going to do is make another layout to put the leaf and the text in. So it's got its own layout, and then I'm going to give it enough weight so it stretches most of the screen, and this one just enough weight so it takes up the right amount. Let's test that. So drag in another horizontal layout, move the leaf image into it like that, and move the text view into it like that. Okay, and now you can just drag it up there to make sure it comes before the image button. No, you can't do that, sorry. But you can double click on it, and now you can go into here. That's weird how you can't just drag that, isn't it? Oh, you can you? No, that goes into the actual one. Not there. Okay, I did it there somehow. Now it's off the screen because that says they're set to fill parent, right? So let's change the height of that. So it's off the screen because it says fill parent, so it's taking up the full width and the full height. There's no space for that one. So we'll change the height to wrap content, which means it only takes up as much space as it needs. And we'll keep fill parent, but we'll give it a weight. We'll give that weight 1, which means that it's filling the whole thing with a weight of 1. So if we go to this one and give this one fill parent and a weight of 1, and because they both got the same weight, they take up the same space. And that already is starting to look a little bit better. But obviously that one needs more space, so we don't want 1. Let's try, no, let's leave it at 1, but we'll set the other one to 2, right? Which is actually gives it less weight. Right, just having a bit of a coffee here, trying to wake up. So now we have this thing. Well, actually what I want to do is I want to make it fill its parent. So actually I want to change that back to fill parent on the height, right? Which will make it too tall, but then in the one above that owns it, this one, the parent one, I'm going to change that to wrap content, which means it will wrap its content like it did before, but this one will take up the full amount of the parent. Okay, so we're looking a bit closer to having that header there. Now what do we want? We want to really just sort of make that stuff sit right in the middle, don't we? Now, as I say, I'm very new to Android Studio, but it's basically identical to Eclipse, but possibly better, I'm not sure yet. But you can just click on that there, gravity, and center, and you'll see how it's centered. If I click top, it's top and center. If I unclick top, and click bottom, it's bottom and center, left, and as centered as it can be, that sort of thing. So that's great, that seems to work. Alright, and now this settings button, that's pretty close, pretty close. Now it's a bit sort of too close to the edge, isn't it? Now what we could do here is use a bit of padding on this main one that holds it all. That's what I will try first. So I'm literally just going to try putting in 5 dp. dp being density independent pixels. The best way to go across screen sizes they are. So if you look up here, I'm using the Nexus 4. If I change that to the Nexus 1, it looks the same. But the Nexus 1 is only 480 by 800, whereas the Nexus 4 is 768 by 1280. Or let's try a silly one, the Nexus 10. Now the Nexus 10 actually doesn't exist, and it's, I don't think anyway, and it's so far into the future. Oh, and portrait there, you can click this button to get around, that it looks a bit weird on the Nexus 10 actually, because that's a resolution that we don't expect. But the highest right now, let's say, would be full HD Nexus 5. It's taking a while to render, but there, that works the same. So when you use DP, or when you use things properly in Android, then it will scale right across, and you should test it by going through these different devices here. Usually just a small one, 480 by 800, and a big one, 1080 by 1920. So long as it works on them, it should be alright, but you can also hit preview all screens there. Alright, so for now, I'm going to go back to the Nexus 4. And you can remember, you can zoom in with this. You can make it exact with that, i.e. that takes up the same amount of pixels as it would. Of course, different density on monitors and stuff. Right. So is that close? Yeah. Actually, the words are a bit more centered in this, aren't they? They're almost really in the actual center of everything. Is that how we have it? No, it isn't. So you know what? We can make that align to the right, I think, instead of being just centered. So we click on that. Open up gravity. Keep center on. Just put right. That pushes it a bit. Now I think that looks more correct. And I don't think the padding is actually high enough on this parent here to make the cog push down and in a bit. Although the cog is actually on the right there, isn't it? So what we should do is try and adjust the gravity of this. Although I don't think you can do that. So what I'm going to do is introduce another layout and just put the image button in that. Now, I don't know, some people might say, you know what, you don't need that many layouts, but actually I think you probably do, and also it's no big deal. So I've made that layout and I've dropped the image button in, and it's took over the whole thing. Why is that happening? It's because they're both set to fill parent, right? So, and we haven't got a weight. So just put the weight back in as 2, and it'll go the way it was. And then you can change the gravity to, let's try center, which makes no difference really there, and right, which actually hasn't had an effect because that is set to fill parent. If we make that wrap content and that wrap content, and take any weight off, you don't want weight unless you're using fill parent. So that is a bit nicer, sort of sitting to the right there, and that could be it for the top bit, that is. Now let's give it a colour. So just for ease of use, I'm just going to screen grab the screen, save it to the clipboard, open up Photoshop, and the thing I'm using right here, by the way, is called ENSO, Humanized ENSO. I did do a video of it on my YouTube if you want to look for it. It's just a really nice way of opening applications. Saves me hours every week. Okay, so once in Photoshop, if you've got the whole screen in your clipboard memory, which you can do also by pressing print screen, you don't have to use that tool I used down there. If you are interested in it, it's called duck capture. Not the greatest tool in the world, but I find that print screen button doesn't work for some reason often on Windows, quite often for me. Okay, so to make a new image, use Control N. If it's the dimensions look right, the size of your screen, then the copy has worked. Press Enter. Control V to paste it. Okay, there's my screen. Now the purpose is to get this grey, so I use the eyedropper. Click on the grey, double click on that, and we see actually it's just all D's there. So copy that, and then all we want to do is put that in the background here as hexadecimal, so we need a hash, and then paste the 6 D's, press Enter. Okay, so what I've done there is I've done it on the wrong one, haven't I? Let me bring back my thing. If you go into the code, you can see I've actually done it on the parent one, not the other one. So you can actually edit in the code too. You can just cut that and paste it into there. Go back to design. Oh, that was nice. It shows you a preview as you're typing in the text, which it doesn't do in Eclipse. Oh, and it highlights what layout you're in too. That's very cool, look. Even the item that you're selected. Nice. Now, a couple of these features are making me like it more than Eclipse. Of course, it's made after. It's built entirely on Eclipse, and it's almost identical. You wouldn't even know this wasn't Eclipse unless you use them daily. But one thing I have noticed is that refactoring, well, there's a couple more steps sometimes in this, which I guess isn't the end of the world. But if there's a lot of compile errors, it does mess up, actually. I mean, it goes slow if there's a lot of them red lines telling you it won't compile, then the whole thing slows down worse than Eclipse probably, but that's the only flaw so far. And I think I've got around the refactoring. I guess I just kept missing this do refactor button, as stupid as I am. Right, I don't know what happened there, but the background went back on that one, so I took it off. Right, so the top, I hope you'll agree, is close to being done. The font is black, and I doubt it's actually black there. And that top bit might not be high enough, height-wise, but we'll leave that for now. I'm going to fix the text, though, by going into Photoshop and just sampling the zoom in a bit, and I'll just find out what colour that text is, because it's not quite black, is it? Although it may be, it's just at the earliest. Get the blackest bit. I'll zoom in a bit more. At the centre of one of them, like maybe that there. You can tell that is slightly off black. 36, 36, 36. Copy that. Go in. Click on the text view. And now we want what is it? Font color. Text color. Press hash, paste that, enter. There you go. Very subtly different, but enough for the original designer to bitch at you, and you have to do more work. Alright, so we'll leave that for now. It might not be perfect, but we'll move on to this blue box now. So, what do you propose for this? Well, I'm thinking I'm going to split this box into two, so there's going to be it'll be working down, so that should be a vertical layout. It's going to be one there and one there, and the bottom one's going to be slightly bigger because it's got this text in it. We could actually do three, like one for the top bit, one for the icons, and one for the text, but the icon seems to overlap the text a bit there. And actually, in a way, I wish to just been supplied this text as images, that would with this built into it, but I haven't been, so I'll build it. Right, so click on your parent layout and then drag in another one, a vertical one, drop it on there so it'll appear at the bottom. Now I don't know why that little thing's remained. I think that's a bug. Or maybe it's just a warning. This layout is useless. Oh, it's useless, alright, but I haven't started working on it. Right. What we want now is a text, another large text view, right? Because we want to use that word start there. We want to put that word start in, sorry. Aha, that's what's happened. It's appeared inside that one. which it shouldn't have done. So I'm going to drag that up. Okay, so now they're actually one after another. As I say, that little icon is very misleading in this program, because that there to me should be horizontal lines, not vertical lines. But I don't know. So what we're finding here is that this one here is taking up the whole parent. So we can change that to height to wrap content, so that our one underneath, our new one, has a little bit, has its own space. Save this in case something goes wrong. Now, it hasn't given them IDs. I was just wondering, because that's a bit annoying. You know, at this point, it's nice to give things an ID, but in Eclipse, it just it's a bit nuts. I thought this one would give you a proper ID, but it doesn't. Anyway, we don't really need that for now. Right. I was just going to rename that to like top bit, and this bit to middle bit, you know, but it does give you an ID down there. Well, anyway, I'm going to copy and paste an ID from the text view here, because it makes it less ambiguous. I'm going to paste it in there, and I'm going to call this ID middle section. And that is on the assumption that when I go back to the design there, it says middle section, and that makes it a lot easier to work. So now we've got the top one here. In Eclipse you can just double click that, but you can't do that now, so you just click it once and go in there. Or then you can just click on the actual section like that, right? Paste in that and call it top section. And now you can see it's starting to get, well, that's actually not the top section, is it? I've got that wrong. I want to put it on there. And as you can see, it starts to get quite neat. So cut it from there, put it on there, save, click design. And then the neater it gets, the easier it is to understand, right? We could call this top one something. The whole layout, we can just give that a name and call it layout holder, something like that. Right, so we've got the layout holder, we've got the top, middle, and we will have the bottom. But let's continue with the middle for now. So there's a text view, right? And now we want them 3 buttons in a row going horizontally, so we use another linear layout. And there are many ways to do these things. This is just the way I choose to do it. And this is a horizontal one, because we want them to cross over the XYs. So what we want now, because they're 3 buttons like that, we want them to actually scale if on different screens and stuff. So we can use an image view or an image button, but because they're going to be clickable, let's use an image button. So drag it, one in. Just do one for now, because you can copy and paste it once you get it right. Now I want that checkbox thing, so go to source, click on that. Oh, it's got a nice preview as well. Okay. Okay, so we want that background to be transparent. Well, first of all, let's set the background of the whole middle section to the right blue. So we go back to Photoshop, just grab that blue, copy that, go into here, background, 1 hash symbol, paste that in, enter. Awesome. Now that text is not big enough, but we'll worry about that in a minute. And like I was saying before, you needed that background to be transparent. So hash 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 6 for the color, 2 for the alpha. It works. Now that looks quite good already. What I'm going to do is set the width to fill parent. And what that will do is, well, obviously fill the parent, so that when we have 3 of these, I'll go back to I'll just go down here and copy and paste this one we've made there. twice. So when I go into the design, they've all got full parent, that's why they're not working actually. So I should have put a weight on them. So select them all, put weight 1, because that gives them an even amount of weight, which means they all take up the same space. Okay, that's looking a bit closer, isn't it? Let's just change the images on the second button here, all of them, just so we get a bit of better view of it. This one, add point of interest, click OK, and this one, add new farmer. Okay. Now this is annoying me a bit. I just want to make this text white and a bit bigger. So hash FFF FFF. 6 Fs is white in hexadecimal, which you will know from your web design days. Now there's red here because they've got the same name, I think. Let's give them names already, right? Let's just call this complete. No, let's call this take questionnaire. And of course this will all depend on whatever you're writing. Add point of interest. Actually, one thing you could do is like either put the type at the beginning or at the end. The beginning, I guess. So you could put image button underscore take questionnaire, because then you can keep them all in one place and you know what type they are, and it's easier to find them. It's up to you, all this stuff though. But I'm going to do that. And the last one, add farmer. Right, go back to design. Now I still want that text to be bigger, and I'll just change that to start for now too, so it looks a bit more like that. And let's change the size of it, which you use SP. What's that? Oh, existing sort of sizes. So let's try 20 SP, which is the same as DP, but for fonts. Wow. Now, this is a bit confusing, because if I go back to the Nexus 1, oh, seems to work now. In Eclipse, that wasn't. Okay, so that is working. So 20 DP is just a lot. 20 SPs is smaller than I thought. You know, times have been changing fast. All right, let's try 50 SP. Seems huge. If I go back to the Nexus 1, yeah, they do scale. I had a bit of a problem with SP just not working, to be honest, and things like that, but that appears to be working. That's actually a bit too big, so let's change that to 40 SP. A little bit less, 35 SP. 40. It looks a bit too bold, our text, but I don't think it has any bold on it. No. Normal. Bold. Italic. But that doesn't really matter, because that is just what it looks like in this. On devices it looks quite different. Now I need to push that start in a bit, so what we want to do really is make the middle section here have padding. Click on the middle section. Go down to padding, and we want padding all over, I guess, but there doesn't seem to be much at the bottom. There is at the top. The left and right seems to have the same, so let's give the left and right 20 DP each. I want to keep them the same. On the top, let's give that 20 DP. Yeah, and the bottom, well, let's not worry about that for now. Actually, let's make the middle section wrap content, so it'll only take up what it needs. And let's have a look. So we have top, middle. We don't have the bottom yet, and we haven't finished the middle actually, but well, I'll go ahead and finish the middle now. So really all we want is exactly the same thing as we had before, but with text fields in. Now I'm worried about this because that plus on the add farmer button is overlapping the text. So I might have to do some trickery to get that to work. or ask them to reconsider the design, because you know, I think that is actually a design flaw, really. I mean, there's no real reason why that should not work. Anyway, let's go into here and we'll copy that linear layout with those 3 buttons in, like that. And let's just paste it underneath. So we've got a duplicate of it. And now, instead of the image buttons, we want text views, right? So just delete the image buttons. Stick in a plain text view. Let's change its color to white. No, put the text in first. Complete questionnaire module. Okay, so that's taking up too much space, but we'll sort that in a minute. Hash 6Fs. Get it to go white. Right. Now let's set that to fill parent, which will make it take over the whole thing. But if we give it a weight of 1, then if we duplicate that 3 times, there should be 3 text fields, text views, all taking up the same area. Press enter, paste, paste. Now when you go back here, it's quite close to being what we want. Now you'll notice that the text should have been aligned actually before we paste it, but we can select all 3 of them. I'm not sure if gravity is what we want. I don't think it is. See, it doesn't change it, so it's not. It's actually a line, I think. That one. Oh, let's see that. There's 2 gravities. That one does do it actually. So let's click center horizontal. That looks close to being what we want. I've just realized, you know, it might be hard for you to see this if I don't zoom in a lot. I'm only recording in HD, which is what my screen is. Okay, let's go in and give these new names just so we can stop this annoying redness. And in keeping with what we had before, we'll go text view underscore do questionnaire. I was just wondering there, these don't really need to be named, because if you don't have to reference them in the code, it doesn't really matter. But let's do it anyway. Add point of interest and add form. Save that, go back, now the red lines have gone. Okay, let's change the text on this to whatever it is in there. Add point of interest, enter. And this one here, add new form. Now, as you can see, it doesn't underlap the plus on that button, and I'm not going to worry about that for now, because that looks to be something that needs a bit of tweaking, custom tweaking. And there's lots of ways I could do it right now, but that would deviate a bit off. So I want to just get this thing looking basically correct before we finish this. So now I'm going to go on to the bottom section, which, as you can see, has like a list there. That scrolls up and down if there's multiple ones, and that header is static. Let me pause that and get the kettle boiling. Okay, it's boiling. Now what we want is this bottom section. Yes? So how do we want it to work? Well, we want that to be a vertical layout, because there's 2 sections. There's the header and then the list. Alright, so make another vertical layout. There it is. Go into the text one, give it a name, and we'll do that just by copying one of them. No idea why it doesn't give layouts names by default. That's a bit annoying, I think. Right. And we'll call this bottom section. And that, like I was saying before, it starts to feel quite neat when you can look at it like that. Very neat, in fact. And it's easier for the next coder or you to come back to. Right, so the top bit there is two things alongside each other. So really we want another linear layout, which is horizontal. Again, I use a lot of layouts, but I don't think they're that expensive, especially on things like this. And I don't see many other ways you could do it. Of course, you could include the text in the images, and the scaling might not be quite as crisp as you want on different devices, which is presumably why it wasn't done. Okay, so the first thing we want is an image button, because we want that eye. I think they're meant to be clickable. No, I don't know actually. Or maybe they're not. I think that's just information. Alright, so we'll use an image view for now, just in case. Because when you click on buttons, they look a bit different and they make a clicking sound, so people could tell. Right, so there's your image view. And bring in a text view. Was that a large text view, was it? Just checking the one I put in earlier just to see. Yeah, it was a large one. So I'll do exactly the same as that. Large, drag it into there. Change the name. Change the text, sorry. Sync activity. Press enter. That's the wrong color as well, but we'll sort that in a minute. And we need to give the image a source. So click on the image view, go down to source. And now we want that I button, which is called information. Okay, that's not bad. Now we want another section underneath, inside bottom section, for this list. And I think we just need a list view for that. Now, unfortunately, I don't think list views are going to work in this. You're not going to be able to see them properly. That involves you going in and doing some code, I think. Well, I know, but I mean, I'm not sure if this program can represent a list or something. Right, so change the height on that one to wrap content, so it doesn't take up too much. Oh, it does represent the list, and I think it might have done that actually in Eclipse. That's quite nice, so it won't show you that the rows there are special. And maybe I'll do a tutorial after this on how to make those special rows and how to link them up, depending on how I'm feeling, how I feel like this went. Right, so there is padding in this section, as you can see, around the outside. So let's just click on the bottom section and add some padding for now to get rid of to get it working. And top and bottom, they look slightly different. Left and right, let's try 20 dp. Yeah, maybe. And now, why does that not actually... The list... Oh no, the list is pushed in. I was just being silly. Right. And the bottom seems to have quite a lot of padding, doesn't it? 30 dp. Is that working? Looks like it's... Yeah, it looks like it's working. Now we've got to give it some padding at the top. We're not quite as much, maybe 25. Yeah. We want to move sync this text view along a little bit. Let's give it like 5 dp on the left, maybe 7. And we're starting to get close to what we want, aren't we? Just got to view them side by side at one point and check. just resize it until you get roughly the same. And then you can clearly see the differences. Alright, so what I see there is the top bit looks fine, although the font looks a little bit too thick, but I'm going to worry about that for now. The cog maybe needs to be pushed in a tiny bit more. Okay, let's do that. I think the top section we just put padding on it, didn't we? Did we? How did we push the cog in? Now you should be able to double click and go to it, but I think if you right click and go to definition is quite good too. So we put padding 5 on the top one, I think. That's how we did it. On that padding 5? No. On that? Yeah, on that one. Right. I'm going to give it a little bit more. Just on this layout that holds it on its own, I'm just going to give it an extra 2 dp. Will that change it? Yeah, just a tiny bit. Right, that looks almost identical, really. Is there like a tiny little gap there? I'm going to give a tiny little bit of padding to the left there. 1 dp. Just to tweak that out a little bit. Right. Okay. Top's fine. Now the middle. Is almost fine. Start seems a little bit too big. Alright, I'll take that size down a bit from 40 SP. Let's knock it down to 35 SP. Still slightly too big. 30. 29. It's hard to tell because one's sort of bolder than the other. 28. Yeah, 28 looks alright, I think. Now, is it pushed in far enough to the left? It's not really, is it? So we need padding different on that left side, I think. Or is it? No, it's pretty close actually. The S starts about the width of another S seam. So actually that's about right. And the padding from the top is about right too. So possibly the gap, well definitely the gap between these buttons and the start is not big enough. So how do we increase that? Well, we could put a padding on the top of this layer. I'm not 100% sure that's the best way to do it, but let's try 20 dp on the top of that. That knocks it down. Just want to get rid of the highlight there because it's harder to see things when that box is on. It's harder to really tell. Right, there you go. Okay, start, start. Button, button, button. Now there, the text in there is perhaps a little bit too big, and it also needs to wrap on Add New Farmer to make it look a bit better. So let's change the text size of these. Now let's go for what? Let's try 18 SP. That's bigger. Okay, so oops. 15 SP, that was going to be my first guess, to be honest. Yeah, still maybe a bit too big. 14. Yeah, they're a lot smaller in that picture, but I'm not sure whether they should be that small, really. let's try one lower, 13 SP. One thing we want to do actually is make them a little bit less wide so that they wrap. You see, complete questionnaires goes on 3 lines. Add point of interest 2 and add farmer 2. So we want to make them a bit narrower than they are. How can we do that? Well, we don't want to specify a weight. We want them to all scale. I mean, we don't want to specify an actual width. We want some better way of doing that. Oh, that's quite cool. Forces a single line. Right. How do we do this? They've all got the same width because they're all fill parent on width, and they've all got the weight 1, so they're a third each of what we've been given. And maybe if we just give them less space, that might do it. So we'll go onto the parent and see what have we got for padding on that parent. 20 dp, left and right. Well, let's just experiment. Let's see what happens if we change that to 30. And the right to 30, keep them consistent. That looks a lot more like it. Apologies for the coughing, by the way. That's why I'm pausing it, because I keep coughing like a mad. Right, so apart from that gap actually there, where because of the overlap, I think it looks good. Yeah, that's fine really. We just want add new farmer to wrap a little bit. So what I'm going to do there, I'm just going to put a tiny bit of padding. Am I? Is that going to work? Oh, it does. Alright, so I'm going to put a tiny bit of padding. I say tiny, but 10's not actually that tiny on either side. Now, one of the things I'm worried about here is that on a bigger screen... Whoa, this is what it looks like on an Nexus 10. On a bigger screen, then the text is actually not going to be separated onto lines. But, you know, that is probably what you want, to be honest, if you've got that screen and you want to make the most of that whole list and everything. So, at this moment in time, I'm not going to worry about that. What does it look like on my HD screen? See, if that was on an HD screen, it would still look almost perfect there. Now we want a gap at the bottom of the blue one a bit more after them texts, after the text. And to do that, middle section, maybe put some padding at the bottom. 30 is going to be too much, I'm just checking. Yeah, it works, it adds a bit of space, but obviously that's too much. And we don't want the list to play second fiddle, so to speak, to the buttons, but the list is presumably quite important. But as long as it can hold 3 items, it should be okay, I guess. Right, so this happens sometimes. It never quite seems to fit what you expect. Well, this thing at the bottom doesn't help. This on-screen thing makes the screen feel smaller. Is there any way to get rid of that? No, I'm not going to mess with that. Right, so the top looks good. Oh, this text needs to be the same colour as that one, doesn't it? So we'll click on that, go down, just copy that, click on that one, paste that. Looks about right, doesn't it? Now there's a background I've just noticed with this sort of leaf design. Oh, and there's a couple of compile issues. Well, run sort of markup issues. Why is that not allowed? Well, that is a warning. It shouldn't be an error, should it? Padding left, you should probably define padding right for left to right symmetry. Wasn't complaining about that before, was it? Alright. Let's just set the padding on that to keep it quiet. Wonder if you can just use 0 dp. Nope, doesn't like 0 dp. Alright, 1 dp. That's going to knock it back though, so what's the point? Alright, so we'll make left 2 dp now. How's that for symmetry? Texture 4, there's something wrong with that as well. What's wrong with that? Padding left, same thing. Alright. Give the padding left 1 dp. Save it. Oh, call that padding right, sorry. Save it. I like the way you can preview it there, that is very cool. Okay. Now, are we done? We're pretty close to being done. Top looks good. Middle looks quite good, although actually they're maybe a bit too in the middle now, my buttons. Maybe they should be left and lined up with the word start. No doubt, actually. So how are they like that? I've got padding there. Okay. It's the way they sort of scale in their box, so to speak. So actually we don't want the padding on the main section. Not for the left and right anyway. I think we need to do it individually. So that was 30 and that was 30. So let's just delete that for now. Actually the images look closer to being what they should be, I think. So I'm wondering if I put like 30 on here and 30 on the left and right of this, whether it won't sit nice. So it's not quite centered now, is it? That's a bit annoying, that, isn't it? Let's see what it looks like on larger resolutions or different resolutions, just briefly. Yeah. See, the problem is they don't have the padding now. Let's remove that padding for now. Well, they look pretty close actually. On Nexus S anyway. Nexus 4. They're a bit wide now. So we do sort of want to limit them. Now, I'm wondering now if I should just use two separate text fields to force it to happen. Like for example on the first one there I can use 3. Complete questionnaire module. 1 text field for each word in a different just 1 text field for each word. And that would solve the problem, I think. So that's what I'm going to do. How am I going to do this? So I'm going to make another layout, vertical layout that goes down because we want 3 text views in a row like that. So that is a vertical. I'm going to drop that in. Now it goes wild because of all of the existing sort of settings, because these are set to fill parent. So drop that one into there and go up here and set that to fill parent and wait 1. So then it'll take up 1/3 of the space, just like the other ones. And it's moved to the bottom. So let me save that first. Can I just drag it? Oh yeah, drag it like that. Okay, so now it's at the beginning. And now what we have is just 1, but we want 3 of them. So click on that and just change the text to complete. Yeah, and then let's just remove the weight for now. Don't think we need it. Plus there was a warning there about bad performance, which is a cool feature. Probably Android Studio will take over from Eclipse, and I haven't had anywhere near the performance issues or the all the screen recording issues where things just don't work sometimes on Eclipse when you're recording, or just ever. Anyway, we'll call these do questionnaire A, B, C. Save that. Go back in. Now they're not there because they